What's up, guys? Welcome to Money's Funko Pops. I'm Justin, and today I'm going to be showing you guys what I think, in my own opinion, were the worst 10 things that came out this year from Funko. So just a few housekeeping things before we get into it. Number one, this is my own personal opinion. I would love to know your personal opinion down in the comments as to what you think were the worst things that came out this year. I'll respect your opinion, you'll respect mine, it's all good. Number two, I have one runner-up on this list, and then we will bounce right into the top 10 things. 10 being my favorite of the least favorites, and then number one being just the absolute worst thing that came out this year. I can't even look at it, I hate it, and you guys will see why I hate it when we get there. So let's go ahead and jump in on this runner-up that I picked. So my one runner-up on this list goes to the GameStop exclusive Chase Maya from Borderlands. This thing was hyped for a few different reasons. Number one, Borderlands had just come out. It was very relevant in pop culture and everybody was super into the game at the time. Number two, it was a Chase glow-in-the-dark pop. Everybody loves glow-in-the-dark chases. You have your Chase Aang from Avatar, your Chase Hades from Hercules. You know, whenever there's a glow pop, people love getting their hands on it. And number three, there was a lot of hype around it because everybody saw that it was a GameStop exclusive chase, which I don't believe we've had before this one. I think this is the first GameStop exclusive chase that we've gotten outside of like a mystery box. So this thing was hyped. People were super stoked on getting this thing. And then you look at it, you charge it up, and the glow is super disappointing. Like, only a small portion of it glows, and honestly, I'm not even a Borderlands fan, but I was super let down when I saw how terrible the glow was on this, so I decided to go ahead and toss it as a runner-up on my top 10 list. So now let's move into the actual top 10 here. So like I said, number 10 is my favorite of the least favorites, even though I hate everything on this list. So now number 10 on this list goes to the Chase Jim Halpert from The Office. Now let me stop you before you guys jump down my throat about The Office. I am a huge Office fan. I have it paused over here in the background while I record a video. You know, I love The Office. I watch it all the time. So the reason that this was such a letdown for me was because it isn't relevant. Like, it doesn't show up in the show. I believe it's from a deleted scene from either season 3 or 4 when Jim writes book across his face. And the only time you see this thing in the show is when they're doing a montage of all of Jim's old Halloween costumes. They pop it in there for like a fraction of a second and then they keep it moving with the rest of them. In my opinion, I feel like the Funko Shop exclusive 3-hole punch Jim should have been the Chase Jim variant, and then that extra slot could have gone to another character or another variant that was much more relevant to the show. So as you guys can see behind me over here, I am a huge Marvel fan, whether it's the comics, the movies, the TV shows, whatever it is. If it's Marvel, I'm about it. And Spider-Man is my favorite superhero, so anything Spider-Man I am absolutely about as well. But number 9 on this list actually comes from the Spider-Man Far From Home Marvel Collector Core box, and that is the Light Up Mysterio. Honestly, this thing is just lame. I don't understand the light up pops at all. I understand that they want to put LEDs in them, and we had the Iron Man, and we have the Darth Vader coming next year, and all of these different variants. But for me, when you have so many Mysterios out there already, why would you waste a Collector Core slot on another Mysterio variant and not even change anything about it except for the fact that it has a light in it now? I understand their need to do very vague pops for the initial wave of Spider-Man. For example, they gave us different Spider-Man. They gave us an MJ, which I think was a really nice touch because it diversified the roster from the first wave. But putting another Mysterio in a Collector Core box just didn't do it for me, and it was a massive letdown. Between the common, the Hot Topic unmasked version, and the Walmart glow-in-the-dark version, a fourth Mysterio just seemed redundant. I didn't understand the need for it, and personally, I feel like that slot could have gone to a character like Ned, or Nick Fury, or Aunt May, or maybe a cooler Spider-Man variant. I don't know, something in a different pose. Or even if it was a Mysterio in a different pose, rather than it being the same exact mold. To me, it just seemed like a cop-out. It just seemed lame, and I didn't really see the need for it. Now we're going to move on to another franchise that I hold near and dear to my heart, and that is Pokemon. And the number 8 slot is going to go to the Waving Pikachu, which was a common release. We got the Target exclusive Pikachu last year, and since then, Funko has been very careful about the Game Freak license with Pokemon. And I think that's rightfully so. They don't want to ruffle anybody's feathers, they don't want to burn any bridges, they want to make sure they're doing this very important license very carefully. So by doing a new pop every 2-3 months or so, I think it's honestly the best way for them to make everybody involved happy. But to me, doing a Waving Pikachu just seems so unnecessary and out of place after we've already had a Pikachu at Target. And that slot could have gone to another Pokemon like Mew or Mewtwo or Mr. Mime or Jigglypuff or something other than another Pikachu variant. So for me personally, this waving Pikachu doesn't do it for me. It's not ugly by any means. I mean, he's cute, he's waving. I totally get it. People are going to want to buy this, especially with Sword and Shield having released right around the same time as this guy. But for me, easy pass. It'll be the only Pokemon pop I don't add to my collection, and I'm totally okay with that. And that takes us to San Diego Comic-Con of this year. For number 7, a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive that is still sitting in bulk on my Barnes & Noble shelves, and that is the Gold Chrome Demogorgon. And I hesitate to say chrome because it isn't really a chrome, it's more of like a matte finish on it. So I understand their reasoning for it, but like at the same time, I don't. I understand that they wanted to do more like gold matte pops for Stranger Things after the success of the, I think it was a 45 piece count gold chrome hopper from San Diego Comic-Con last year. And it makes sense even more if you're looking at it in context as to where this release falls in the Stranger Things timeline. The new season of Stranger Things had just aired at the time of these pops being announced and released, so they couldn't do anything too crazy without having spoilers or ruining some part of the show, as it was just too close to the season being released. So like, I get it. I understand Funko had to play it safe. I understand that they had to go ahead and do something that was kind of careful, but at the same time, like, why even do anything at all? With SDCC 2019 having the most amount of variants and color swaps and glow-in-the-dark variants out of any con in recent history, why would they add to that by doing a gold chrome Demogorgon? Why not just do nothing? There's no reason to do a Stranger Things pop for SDCC because it didn't have anything to do with the new season, and it was literally just a shelf warmer for so many Barnes & Noble, and that's something Funko has been doing for quite some time now. They've been milking the Stranger Things franchise. They've been constantly pushing out variants after variants after variants. And in my own personal opinion, I think that SDCC would have been a nice break to have no Stranger Things variants, and then of course ramp right back up and hit NYCC with the Susie like they did. But of course, they're going to keep milking popular franchises. They're going to keep doing pops for movies and TV shows that are doing well. So I totally get why they did it, but in my opinion, I just hate it and I don't care for it. Number 6 goes to a line that I absolutely love, but this guy is just the ugliest out of all of them. Is going to go to the Venomized Groot from the recently released Venomized Wave. Now, the reason that this thing ranks so high on my list is because I just don't like it. And that is such a lame reason. Like, I don't have any, like, hardcore reason for this thing, but coming from a line that I absolutely love and I tend on collecting a lot of, but it's something about it that I just will never pick up because I just don't care for it. And the Venomized line seems to have no signs of slowing down, with there being leaks of them doing a Venomized Doctor Strange and a Venomized Captain Marvel. And I'm sure that those are going to look really awesome, but when you look at all of the Venomized pops as a whole set, it definitely has some strong ones like the Venomized Loki, and then in my opinion, the Venomized Groot is the bottom of the barrel, kind of like, oh, we can pass over that and pretend that it doesn't exist. Number 5 on this list goes to the entire set of Peeps Pops. I don't have words. I don't understand why this was necessary. I don't know why these exist. You can get them for $3.99 at my local FYE. I just hate Peeps as a food, if you consider them food. Looking at them as pops, they're looking at me the wrong way, and I don't. Moving on to number 4, it brings us to The Walking Dead, and that is simply Dog. And this is f***ing stupid. This is like the dumbest thing they've done to The Walking Dead set. Dog is part of the newer seasons of The Walking Dead. I guess Daryl adopts this dog, and because it's Daryl and he's super kooky, he's gonna name the dog Dog. Now, there are so many characters they could have done instead of Dog. I made a list. Andrea, Dale, Lori, Deanna, Noah, Tara, the wolf dude with the W on his head, Beta, Henry, Simon, Sadiq, Jerry, Lonnie, Lydia, Enid. The list goes on, everybody. It just is like so unnecessary that they made this stupid dog rather than 24 other characters. And even if I look at this thing objectively from somebody who wasn't a fan of The Walking Dead, this is literally just the Pop Pets German Shepherd in a Walking Dead box with a slight color variation on the paint job. But if you're going to do a dog instead of doing a character that people might have loved, I'm going to keep it moving. It's an easy pass for me, and I don't care about it. Number 3 on this list goes to the AAA exclusive Spider Carnage, and this is another example of a pop that I don't think translated well from the source material. Now, as I've already said, I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. I'm collecting every Venom pop for the most part. But personally, this thing just did not translate well, and I don't like the way that it's looking at me. I mean, this thing just looks so ugly, and I know that's the point. I know it's supposed to be Carnage and Spider-Man put together, but for me, there's something, again, I keep using the word off-putting, but that's the best way to describe it. This just looks off-putting. There's something about it that just doesn't look right, and I can't put my finger on it. Maybe it's the awkward jumping pose they have him in. Maybe if they had him just standing still, it would look a little bit less cluttered. Maybe there's just too much going on for my taste, but at the end of the day, this placed high on my list because when I was making this list, it was literally the first thing that came to my mind. I was like, what came out this year that I hated? Spider-Carnage. All right, guys, so we're at number 2. This is my second place winner for the least favorite pop of the year. So, for me, I was terrified of the live-action Aladdin movie, and Will Smith's genie is just terrifying, and the translation into the pop form is just as bad. Just like Spider-Carnage, I don't like the way that this dude's looking at me, and the glow on the dark one is, I guess, very disappointing. I had a hard time finding pictures of it on the internet since I don't own it, but from what I'm seeing from people posting, this thing just doesn't glow that bright, and I'm kind of lumping the glow and the comment together because they both, of course, are the same mold, and they're both kind of disturbing in their own way. And speaking of disturbing, guys, we now fall at my number 1 slot. My least favorite thing released from Funko in 2019 is the entire live-action Lion King set except for Timon. These things look so terrifying. They are just the ugliest things I've seen in my life. Cartoon versions of these things look great. I think that as cartoons, they translate so well to pops. But there is something about Simba that just looks so terrifying that I could not get it out of my head. When I was making this list, I had Simba, Scar, and Puma as their own individual slots, and that was back when I had about 16 pops on this list that I was kind of trying to narrow down. But I was looking at it and I was like, Rafiki doesn't look that great either. I think Timon is the best looking out of all of them, and I would even say he looks decent enough to not appear on this list anywhere. But if the common versions aren't enough for you, they go ahead and they do flocked variants as well to various retailers, and some of the flocking jobs on these just make it look so much worse. So there's a distinction about taking something, turning it into a pop, and looking at it and saying, oh, that's a pop. And taking something, turning it into a pop, and looking at it and saying, what the f*** is that? And there it is, guys. There's my entire list of what I think was the worst Funko products of 2019. Don't forget to let me know down below in the comments what your least favorite release was from this year. Was it something on my list? Was it something completely different? I would love to know your opinions down below in the comment section. And if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you go down and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on more content just like this here on the channel. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. What's up, guys? Thanks so much for watching. I really do appreciate your support. If you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any more content that I post here to the channel. Down below me, there are 2 different videos. You have my suggestion, which is the video that I suggest you watch, or you can click next video, which will take you to a video very similar to the one that you just watched. So thank you guys so much for your support, and I'll see you soon.